All right, everyone, and welcome back to the Book Summary Podcast. We're going to help you conquer that ever-growing reading list without sacrificing all your free time, of course. Today, we're diving deep into Million Dollar Weekend. It's a book by Noah Kagan, and it makes a pretty audacious claim. You can launch a seven-figure business in just 48 hours. Sounds a little crazy, right? But Kagan, he's got a track record. He's built successful businesses himself, including AppSumo, so we're definitely curious to unpack this idea.
Yeah, and I think what's so fascinating here is that, he's not saying you need to be like a coding genius or a marketing guru to be able to pull this off. His argument is that entrepreneurial success is less about like inherent talent and more about having the right mindset and a willingness to take action.
That's kind of what initially hooked me on the book. It's so easy to get caught up in that, like, I need more experience or I need the perfect idea trap. And this book seems to just completely dismantle those excuses.
Totally. And one of the key concepts he introduces early on is this idea of creator's courage. It's all about rekindling that childlike curiosity and fearlessness. The one we tend to lose as we grow older. Remember when you were a kid and every day was like an opportunity for adventure and exploration? You didn't really worry about failing. You just kind of dove in headfirst.
Oh, totally. Building forts in the living room, concocting weird potions in the kitchen, selling lemonade on the corner. It was all about like experimenting and trying new things.
And that's the spirit that Kagan argues we need to recapture. If we want to really succeed in business, he wants us to embrace experimentation, to treat our business ideas as mini experiments, and view failure not as a setback, but as a learning opportunity.
So it's like instead of asking, what if it doesn't work? We should be asking, what if does?
Precisely. And that shift in perspective can be incredibly liberating. It allows us to overcome those paralyzing fears, the ones that hold so many people back from pursuing their entrepreneurial dreams.
Okay, so how does Million Dollar Weekend actually guide us on this journey of rediscovering our creator's courage and launching a business in just 2 days?
So the book is structured in 3 parts. Part 1 focuses on laying the groundwork, shifting our mindset and preparing us for the Million Dollar Weekend challenge. It's like the mental and emotional warm-up. Before we hit the entrepreneurial gym.
Makes sense. You can't really build a business if you're trapped in a cycle of fear and self-doubt.
Exactly. And Kagan kicks off part 1 with a chapter aptly titled, Just Fooing Start.
I love that.
He doesn't sugarcoat things, does he?
Love that straight to the point style. If you're enjoying this no-nonsense approach, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more insightful book summaries.
So in this chapter, Kagan introduces the end now but you not how mindset. It's about taking action. Instead of getting bogged down in overthinking and planning, it's about saying, I don't need to know every single step. I just need to start moving.
Yeah, that resonates so much with me. I'm definitely guilty of over-planning and procrastinating. Especially when it comes to big, scary goals.
And to help us overcome this paralysis, Kagan introduces a practical exercise. It's called calculating your freedom number.
Okay, what exactly is a freedom number?
It's essentially the minimum amount of money you need each month to cover your essential expenses. The idea is that once you have this number in mind, it gives you a clear target to aim for. It breaks down that seemingly insurmountable task of building a business into a more manageable goal.
So instead of feeling overwhelmed by this vague notion of needing to make a lot of money, you have a concrete financial goal to work towards.
Exactly. And having that clear target can be incredibly motivating. It shifts your focus from vague aspirations to a tangible objective.
I love that. And it also ties back to the idea of starting small and experimenting. You don't need to launch some massive, complex business right out of the gate. You can start with a simple idea, validate it, and then gradually scale up.
Right, and Kagan actually provides a bunch of examples of people who've done just that. People who started with seemingly small ideas and turned them into thriving businesses.
Okay, let's dive into some of those stories, because I think they'll be super inspiring for our listeners. Kagan talks about Michael Osborne, right?
Yes, Michael used the Million Dollar Weekend framework to launch a real estate consulting business. That's now making him over $80,000 a month.
Wait, hold on. He built a 6-figure business in real estate consulting in just a weekend. What was his secret sauce?
Well, Michael already had some knowledge of the real estate market, but he wasn't sure how to turn that knowledge into a profitable business. So he followed the Million Dollar Weekend process. He identified a specific problem that real estate agents were facing, generating leads. And he developed a solution that helped them attract more clients.
So he didn't reinvent the wheel or try to create some revolutionary new technology. He simply found a pain point in a specific niche and offered a solution.
Exactly. And that's a key takeaway here. You don't need to have some groundbreaking idea to build a successful business. You just need to solve a real problem for a specific group of people.
And this brings us to the second major fear. Kagan addresses in part 1 the fear of asking. Even if you have a great idea and you're ready to take action,
Yeah.
that fear of rejection, of putting yourself out there, can be a major roadblock.
Absolutely. And Kagan tackles this fear head on in Chapter 2, The Unlimited Upside of Asking.
Okay, before we dive into that, I just want to remind everyone to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the rest of this deep dive. We've got a lot more to unpack, including Kagan's strategies for pre-selling your idea.
And building a growth machine.
But first, let's conquer that fear of asking. So Kagan's approach to overcoming the fear of asking is pretty counterintuitive. He actually encourages us to embrace rejection, to make it a goal.
Rejection goals, that's a new one. How does that work?
Instead of trying to avoid rejection, he challenges us to actively seek it out. He even suggests setting a specific number of rejections we want to get each week. Wait, so he's telling us to go out and intentionally get rejected. That seems a little masochistic, but I'm kind of intrigued.
The idea is that by intentionally putting ourselves in situations where we might get rejected, we desensitize ourselves to that fear. It's like exposure therapy for entrepreneurs.
Okay, that makes sense. The more we experience rejection, the less power it has over us. But how do we actually put this into practice? Does he give any specific exercises?
He does. He has this fun challenge called the Coffee Challenge.
Coffee challenge. I'm listening.
The challenge is simple. Go to your favorite coffee shop and ask for a 10% discount on your coffee. That's it.
Seriously? That's the challenge. It seems so mundane.
It is mundane, and that's the point. It's a low-stakes way to practice the skill of asking. Even if you get rejected, it's not a big deal. You're just out a few cents.
But you're building that muscle of putting yourself out there, of making a request, of facing that potential rejection head on.
Exactly. And who knows, you might even score that discount. But the real win is overcoming that fear and realizing that rejection isn't the end of the world.
So by the end of part 1, we've ideally shifted our mindset, embraced the N, know you not how approach, calculated our freedom number, and started to chip away at our fear of asking. We're prepped and ready to dive into the $1 Million Weekend itself.
Right. And part 2 is where the rubber meets the road. This is where Kagan walks us through the 3-step process of building a business in just 2 days.
Okay, remind us again what those 3 steps are.
Step 1, find a problem people are having that you can solve. Step 2, create an irresistible solution. And step 3, validate your idea by pre-selling it before you even build it.
So let's break down step 1, finding a problem. This might seem obvious, but I think a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs get this wrong. They start with a solution or product they're passionate about, but they don't necessarily stop to ask if there's a real market for it.
You're absolutely right. And that's why Kagan emphasizes what he calls the customer-first approach. It's all about starting with the customer, understanding their pain points, and then figuring out how you can help them.
So instead of saying, I have this amazing idea, let's see if anyone wants it, you're saying, what are people struggling with and how can I solve that problem?
Precisely. And Kagan provides a bunch of practical exercises. To help us identify these problems, he encourages us to think about our own experiences, the problems we faced, the things that frustrate us. He also suggests tapping into our networks, talking to friends, family, colleagues, and asking them about the challenges they're dealing with.
It's like becoming a detective, searching for clues to uncover those unmet needs that people are desperately seeking solutions for.
Exactly. And once you've identified a problem that resonates with you, that you're genuinely passionate about solving, you move on to step 2, crafting an irresistible solution.
This is where the creativity comes in, right?
Yeah.
It's about taking that problem and coming up with a solution that people will be excited to pay for.
Right. But it's not just about coming up with any solution. It's about crafting a solution that's specific, tangible, and clearly articulates the value proposition. What transformation will your solution provide? How will it make their lives better, easier, or more fulfilling?
And Kagan has a really helpful tool for this step, right? The 1-minute business model.
Yes. It's this brilliant one-page document that forces you to think through the key elements of your business. You define your target customer, clearly articulate the problem you're solving, describe your solution, outline your marketing channels, and determine your pricing and revenue streams.
So it's like a mini blueprint for your business, a way to get all those swirling ideas out of your head and onto paper, where you can see them more clearly.
And the beauty of it is that you can do this in just a few minutes. It's not about creating this elaborate business plan. It's about getting the core elements down so you can start testing and validating your assumptions.
Okay, so We identified a problem. We've crafted a solution. We've outlined our business model. Now it's time for the moment of truth. Step 3, validation.
Right. This is where things get really interesting. Instead of spending months or even years developing a product or service, Kagan advocates for pre-selling it before you even build it.
Hold on, pre-selling something that doesn't exist. How does that even work?
It's about proving the demand for your idea, testing the market, before you invest significant time and resources into building something that might not sell.
So instead of billing it and hoping they will come, you're essentially saying, hey, I have this amazing solution that will solve this problem for you. Are you interested enough to buy it now, even though it's not quite ready yet?
Exactly. And pre-selling has a number of advantages. First, it mitigates risk. You're not putting a lot of money on the line until you know there's actual demand.
It also gives you valuable feedback from potential customers. You can learn what features they're most excited about, what price point they're willing to pay, and what objections they might have.
And it creates a sense of urgency and exclusivity. People are more likely to buy if they feel like they're getting in early on something special.
Okay, that makes sense. But how do you actually go about pre-selling something that's not yet built? What are some of the strategies Kagan recommends?
Well, he offers a variety of approaches, but the key is to create a compelling offer that clearly articulates the value proposition and incentivizes people to buy now.
So are we talking about offering early bird discounts, exclusive bonuses, or maybe even a sneak peek behind the scenes of the development process?
All of those could work. It's about finding the right incentive for your target audience and creating a sense of urgency. You could offer a limited time discount, a bonus for early adopters, or even just a guarantee that they'll be the first to know when the product launches.
And this is where those rejection goals come in handy, right? Because you're going to be putting yourself out there, making a lot of asks, and potentially facing some rejection along the way.
Absolutely. But remember, rejection is just part of the process. The more you embrace it, the less scary it becomes. And the rewards of pre-selling are significant. Not only are you validating your idea and mitigating risk, but you're also building a community of excited early adopters who are invested in your success.
I love that. And that community can be incredibly valuable, not just for sales,
Yeah.
but also for feedback and product development.
Exactly. They become your beta testers, your sounding board, your most passionate advocates. And that brings us to the end of part 2 of $1 Million Weekend. You've got a validated idea, a group of eager customers, and a blueprint for your business.
Well, I guess it's time to build that growth machine Kagan talks about,
Right.
but we'll have to save that for 3. Part 3 of our deep dive, don't go anywhere. All right, so we've got our validated idea, a handful of excited early adopters, and a basic business model sketched out. Now it's time to shift gears from that initial weekend sprint and think about long-term growth. This is where $1 Million Weekend gets really interesting for me.
Yeah. Part 3 of the book is all about building what Kagan calls a growth machine. It's the engine that's going to propel your business forward. And he doesn't just throw out vague advice about marketing or scaling.
Yeah.
He gets super tactical here.
Yeah, this is where I started taking furious notes. Because it's one thing to get that initial spark, but turning it into a sustainable business that can actually support you financially, that's the real challenge.
Right. And one of the key principles he emphasizes is that building an audience shouldn't be an afterthought. It needs to be baked into your strategy from day one. He even uses the term minimum viable audience. It's like the smallest possible group of people you need to reach to make your business viable.
That's a great way to think about it, because so often we get caught up in trying to reach everyone and we end up spreading ourselves too thin.
Exactly. And Kagan argues that we should focus our energy on attracting the right people, the people who are most likely to resonate with our message and become loyal customers.
So how do we go about finding and attracting this minimum viable audience? Does Kagan offer specific strategies?
He does. And this is where his expertise in digital marketing really shines. He talks a lot about the importance of content marketing, creating valuable, engaging content that attracts your ideal customer and positions you as an authority in your niche.
Okay, so we're talking blog posts, videos, podcasts, social media updates, anything that provides value to your audience and keeps them coming back for more.
Right. And the key here is consistency. You need to create a regular flow of high-quality content that speaks directly to your target audience's needs and interests.
But isn't creating all this content super time-consuming, especially when you're just starting out and juggling a million other things?
It can be, but Kagan offers a bunch of tips for streamlining your content creation process. He recommends batching your content, setting aside specific blocks of time to create multiple pieces of content at once, and repurposing your content across different platforms. For example, you could turn a blog post into a series of social media updates or even a short video.
It's smart. It's about working smarter, not harder.
Yeah. Exactly. And Kagan also emphasizes the importance of promoting your content. You can have the most amazing blog post in the world, but if no one sees it, it's not going to do you much good.
So we're talking social media marketing, email marketing, maybe even paid advertising.
All of the above. And this is where that line from the book comes in. Social media is for growth, email is for profit.
That's right, I remember that. He argues that social media is a great way to reach a wider audience and build brand awareness. But email marketing is where you really nurture those relationships and convert those followers into paying customers.
And one of the specific techniques Kagan highlights is the welcome sequence. It's a series of automated emails that introduce new subscribers to your brand and provide value right from the start.
So you're not just sending out a generic welcome aboard message. You're strategically crafting a series of emails that deliver valuable content, build trust, and ultimately nudge those subscribers towards making a purchase.
Exactly. It's about creating a positive first impression and setting the stage for a long-term relationship.
Okay, so we've covered content marketing, social media, email marketing. It seems like there's a lot to juggle. Any advice for staying organized and avoiding overwhelm?
Well, Kagan's a big believer in systems and processes. He encourages us to document our workflows, automate as much as possible, and delegate tasks that don't require our direct expertise.
That makes sense. It's about working smarter, not harder, and building a business that can run smoothly, even when you're not personally involved in every detail.
And this is where Million Dollar Weekend goes beyond just business strategy and delves into the realm of personal development. Kagan dedicates an entire chapter to creating systems and routines that support our well-being. He argues that we can't build a successful business if we're constantly stressed out, burnt out, and neglecting our health.
That's so important. And it's something that often gets overlooked in the hustle and bustle of entrepreneurship.
Right. And Kagan's philosophy here is simple. Optimize for happiness. Design your business and your life in a way that brings you joy and fulfillment. It's not about sacrificing your well-being for the sake of success. It's about creating a business that supports the life you want to live.
I love that. It's about building a business that serves you, not the other way around.
Exactly. And I think that's ultimately what makes Million Dollar Weekend such a refreshing and inspiring read. It's not just a book about building a business. It's a book about building a life that you're excited to wake up to every morning. It's about reclaiming your creativity, embracing your passions, and making a real impact on the world.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Million Dollar Weekend, what are some key takeaways for our listeners? What are the biggest lessons we can learn from Noah Kagan's journey?
Well, first and foremost, it's about embracing that creator's courage, shaking off those fears that hold us back, and taking action. It's about adopting the now, not how mindset and focusing on progress over perfection.
It's about viewing our business ideas as experiments, testing our assumptions, and being willing to pivot when necessary. It's about putting the customer first, solving real problems, and creating solutions that people are excited to pay for.
And it's about building a growth machine that can sustain us creating valuable content, nurturing our audience, and leveraging the power of digital marketing to reach our goals.
But it's not just about achieving financial success. It's about building a business and a life that align with our values, our passions, and our vision for the future. It's about optimizing for happiness and creating a legacy that we're proud of.
If you're feeling inspired to take that leap, we highly recommend checking out Million Dollar Weekend. It's a game changer.
And as always, we'd love to hear from you. What resonated with you most from this deep dive? What are your biggest takeaways? Drop a comment below and let's continue the conversation. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more insightful book summaries. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep creating.